how like you kind of influenced my love for music and dancing, because I mean, in the basement at Grandma's house, you'd be playing, and like you'd play like on the TV behind your drum set, you'd have like Taylor Swift would be your drums.
Taylor Swift.
It was for Emma. It was for Emma, guys.
The tune's coming out.
Love it,
I'm
John.
pretty sure. No, I would ask him to play, but I don't really know what else to say. But you're kind of what I think of as like the epitome of a fun uncle, because you're somebody, we hang out with you all the time, and you know, even recently went to breakfast with you, and you're just a person that we can always do that with. So, happy 50th, and
And we have some folks that wanted to be here but couldn't, so we're going to start with
Summary.
the oldest. I know.
Can we get a better angle? Oh, my bad.
Volume.
Happy 50th birthday. I wish I was there. And let's see, the day, the month, and the year he was born. Of course, Neil Armstrong was landed on the moon, and Anna Vijayan came from India.
Two very
and Daddy was teaching at the St. Stanislaus High School. And we moved from Maywood to Paulina and North Avenue. And let's see. John, the year you were born, of course, you had your older brother and your middle brother. Daniel was born a year 18 months before you. And so there's no disposable diaper. Guess what? Wash it and hang it dry. And there was no microwave, so we have to warm up the milk on the top of the stove. And we have to go to grocery. That time, I don't think we had a car. At Paulina and North Avenue, there was a grocery store. We used to take you and John and Danielle, and we go for grocery. And you were a very creative child even then, and you used to give every kind of excuse to stay up. So when Daddy comes home, you can spend some time with them. And of course, our perfect child, Dan.
That is news! Big news!
Comedy portion of the
And had a belt around his waist with the tools. He thinks he can fix anything. And one day you were crying so hard, we didn't know what to do. So he took his tools. He said, "Mom, I can fix that." So that's how your older brother was. So he did fix the stuff in the house.
Oh.
And then we had a wonderful childhood on North Avenue and in Paulina. Of course, our princess was born a year later after you, and then 2.5 years later, we all lived in the say, "Oh no, you grew up in the
Hang on, she's going to say something nice about you in a
so you
second.
didn't know. But he was
Oh my gosh, that's so funny, dude.
and Sia really took care of you like her own, and she used to feed you and keep you. Don't forget, all three of us had a chores to do. Me, Pius, and Sia, and we have to walk to school in the morning after all the chores. So, and of course, Anna Vijayan was babysitting too. So, and we had a wonderful childhood, and Daddy worked 3 jobs and to take care of us. And then I think we bought a station wagon before Lucy was born. And we had a wonderful time, and you were a very creative child. We didn't know you had a talent for music those days, and you used to take any kind of pots, pans to bang on the, on the music. You'd say, "I'm making music," like that. So we didn't think, it was a survival time.
Where are we going with this?
My wish is you settle down. You needed someone to mature age. Of course, I'm old. You're not old. So,
Wait, can I ski pause it real quick?
And you were a wonderful brother.
It's just real quick, so you know, a lot of people don't know. So this is Jacinta, our oldest, the oldest child in the family. It's my oldest sister. Just that's the count.
Jonathan's mom.
She was just saying
Jonathan
right
is
there.
Oh, rewind it. No, just hit play.
Too. So, and Sia really took care of me like her own. So the credit goes to her. So I will see you when I get to Chicago to see Dad, and love you very much, and happy birthday again. Thank you. I'll see you all later.
Oh, that's sweet.
Is that on YouTube?
It's on, yeah.
It'd be hilarious.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, you can type in.
She's got the internet sensation.
Yeah. You can type in Lucy Taraka and you get all these videos.
No, two.
Go to, yeah.
So the second video is our nephew Mark and his wife.
Yeah.
So who was just on the screen is his son.
Her son and daughter-in-law.
And by the way, the normal range.
This doesn't say much.
Uncle John, happy birthday. One second, let me hit Mark for you. Hey, Mark.
Throwback Raja. Throwback Raja.
Love it.
Happy birthday.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's Mark.
John birthday wish 5. Possible. Wish 5. There is a 5. I just did it.
That's all way back to the wedding stuff.
Oh.
Wait, what about the
I don't think it'll show up right now.
All right, that's okay. All right, so go ahead and go to
Joshua?
Good. 3.
Uh,
We did 1 and 2 so far.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's 3. So quick, just to prep, tee this one up. So I sent our 2 college boys, not our 2, but Joshua, who's my nephew, John's nephew, and Jacob, who's my son. Jacob is John's nephew as well. I texted them yesterday, I'm like, hey, I know you guys can't be here, it's Uncle John's birthday, just send a quick thing, it doesn't have to be a speech, but just send something. So Jacob sent the first video, he said, hey Joshua, I'm sorry to set the bar so high, but, here it is. So first one's Jacob, and then Brett will follow up with Joshua.
There's no
So go ahead.
relation to this kid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, I don't want to
It's coming.
Hey, it says, I hear it.
Uncle John, thanks for being a great godfather, great uncle, and a great role model. Happy 50 years, and best of luck on the next 50.
Alright, and then this was Joshua's counter to that. So
Yeah.
Alright.
So he saw that.
Joshua saw that and then he
Did
yeah.
this.
He's telling you gonna wear a turban.
Wait, rewind that.
Where's your money going to?
How did he do that? Wait.
Actually, that one was Alex.
Yeah.
Oh, both.
How did he do that?
Happy birthday, Naya. Something's definitely missing. It meant a lot to me. You're just like another father figure to me, and wish you a very happy 50th birthday. Thank you for everything you've done for me.
That is some disturbing music, John.
So laptop.
It's a story.
Thanks for everything that you've done for me. Can't thank you enough. Happy 50th birthday and many more to come.
That's good.
That's how they see me. I never do that.
Oh yeah. There's the 5th one.
Alright, John, you're gonna have to turn your head.
This is
Okay.
cheating
So-
for me.
Turn your
Yeah,
head.
so last but not least, this is Darlene, our oldest niece, oldest grandchild.
But
of the family.
unfortunately, it's sideways.
You
It's
can turn your head
sideways.
sideways.
She was focused more like the cell phone generation.
Got
so.
it.
happy birthday from Brooks Beef Farm in Peabody for picking apples. Happy 50th. We love you.
We'll ship you some apples.
We're in Boston. Yeah.
Cute. Okay, go to the.
Alright, we're down with that initial.
Those are the wishes.
Okay, so now we're gonna have a couple of people get up and speak. So first up is Sarah.
Alright, I do have a reputation of kind of like bawling at these things. I promise I'll make my best effort not to do that. John, in so many ways you are, Dad, no offense, you are the cool version of my dad.
You might as well just
Your version is cool.
You've always been a father figure. You've always been somebody. Alex and I truly believe our passion for music stems from you. And we grew up playing music. We grew up, really learning to love it. And I think so much of that came because it came from a home of where that was accepted and that was cool, and you really paved the way for that. If you weren't there, I'm sure we'd all be with our textbooks and sitting there reading dictionary, like Papa wanted us to do. But you really paved the way for letting us express our love for music. Alex and I were the first kids after a long period of no kids.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways I feel like we were really lucky because we kind of got you to ourselves. And until Jacob came along and ruined it all. But those early years at Grandma's house in the basement, although you may have been a little mad because sometimes we'd mess with your drum kit, but
I mean, right?
I think that's the only time you've ever actually yelled at us. Those are some of my happiest memories at Grandma's house, and we are so lucky to have gotten that experience, to grow up with that. And to now, I really feel like you're my uncle, but you're so much also like my friend. And I love the fact that we can, we go get lunch together, and you'll text me for advice. I'm like, wow, he's asking me for advice. And I so appreciate the relationship that we had growing up and the relationship we have now. David's over there, but David and I just got married, for those of you who don't know, in June, and Uncle John made the wedding. I mean, it was amazing. He worked so hard with some of these guys on the music, and I had so many people say, "Oh, you shouldn't have even had a DJ." Like he made it so good, and it was so cool because it wasn't somebody where you're like, "Oh, we're gonna pay these people to do this." It was like, no, that's our family, and that comes from us, and really that comes from you. And
for those who weren't there, it's totally true.
Hey, John, we should stretch before you try to pit.
But just like a quick plug, I guess, is that at our wedding, the DJ's equipment started not malfunctioning basically halfway through a song, and luckily we have such talented family members. My Uncle John got up there and just started playing. My brother just took the mic and started singing the song where it had left off, and just kind of kept it going. And that was, I actually had no clue that it even happened because I wasn't in the room. But so many people were like, "Oh, that must have been planned. That was so cool." And I was like, "Oh, I don't even know what you're talking about."
It was lucky. It was Ed Sheeran thinking out loud.
Thinking out loud.
Like
yeah.
the DJ was playing, and all of a sudden it just stopped. And like everybody, people are dancing, but her group, the people there, they just started singing. Like they it wasn't like, "Oh, great." They just started singing and started dancing. I'm like, wait a minute, I know this. And like it's sparse. There's not a lot going on. So I ran up. Then Alex comes up, He starts singing it now.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's
you
cool.
know, so much of that is because of like how our family is. It's that, you know, I'm gonna pitch it, I'm gonna help, I'm gonna do what I can to make it work and make it good. And that really made our wedding, and we so appreciate that. And you know, we look forward to all the times we get to hang out and talk about our cats. But you know, we wish you the happiest 50th birthday, and you know, thanks for everything.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you.
You cried.
I didn't cry. See, I did.
All right, next up is Alex.
I don't cry, but no, I know, you know, Uncle John isn't too big into like formal talks and all that, so I'm just gonna keep it, you know, short. But so I'm just thinking, when we were born, me and Sarah, Uncle John's my age, so you're 25.
Right. Yeah.
We're, you know, so.
Man.
Exactly. So, but no, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, you know, all the kids born now, like,
Now
you
I
know,
know.
no, but but I was saying, you know, for all the kids born now, I'm their uncle. Like, I am that old, that much older than, you know, Evelyn, that much older than all of them. And,
Evelyn,
you know, my goal would be to be the uncle that you were. So, like, I think, you know, you couldn't have been that old. Will you take us to Toys R Us and say, you know, on our birthday, and you're just like, pick out whatever you guys want. And like that, like I still remember that to this day, like every birthday you would make a deal for me and Sarah. I think we were probably like 5, 6 years old. And you would just be like, you know, hey guys, this is your day, do whatever you want. And like, that was like the coolest thing, is like you as an uncle to come and do that for us. And like, you weren't that old. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, I'm saying that is like, you were not old. You were,
the pressure's on.
You were, yeah, the pressure's on. You were 30 years old, like something like that. And, you know, that was just, I always remember that. And, you know, as Sarah said, the music stuff, I think going to Grandma's house, seeing, you know, everyone around a piano, that's what made me want to play piano.
Yeah.
That's what made, I think, you know, Sarah want to sing and pick up guitar and all that. It just, you know, I think you continuing that music and, you know, I know my dad brought it into the household and then you took off with it. Like, that was, you know, the thing. And so, to me, I think that's where, like, this family bonds on. That's literally every single one of us have some kind of either dance, some kind of musical ability, some, you know, thing to bring to the table. And I think that's, you know, so much of what you brought to us. And, you know, that's, we're truly grateful for it. And then, you know, growing up, I live in the city. I think it's awesome that we can just go get a drink. You know, you're just like, you know, text me and say, Starbucks drink. But
know your audience.
But no, I think that's awesome. Is how, you know, yes, you're my uncle, but as Sarah said, you're your friend. You're someone who, you know, we enjoy being with, enjoy hanging out with. You're still our role model. We still look up to you. But I think that, you know, just as life progresses, I think it's so cool how we can continue a relationship and like build on that. So I'm interested to see what my 50th you'll get. But, you know, what speech you'll get. But
Yeah,
let's enjoy today. But yes, happy 50th and like thank you for it.
Thanks, buddy.
Jonathan, can you pause the Saints game? Or?
Yeah, it's halftime.
Okay. Perfect.
I don't know if you guys know, but I am a crier, so I will bust out some tissues. No, really, seriously. But,
so we had dinner yesterday.
Yeah.
Our 4 o'clock steak and eggs.
Yeah.
That's 4 a.m. people. You know, I'm not gonna. You know, Uncle John's a cool uncle. We know that. I have a lot of cool uncles, so I'm not gonna. You know, no. I'm gonna tell a story that. It's gonna go to the meaning of why. Uncle John is so cool that he has his own standard time. And you guys know what I mean. Like Uncle John will say, I'll be there, and he'll show up like 2 hours late. But it's really not your fault, man. You know whose fault it is? Uncle Dan. The reason why is because you guys might not know this, but I'll tell you. Uncle Dan and Uncle John shared a room, right? So if you ever slept with Uncle Dan, if you ever had that fortunate
Of camping with Emerson.
camping with him, he snores so loud. So the poor kid.
I be breathing.
So the poor kid, Uncle John, couldn't go to bed. That's why. So the only time that he got sleep was when, you know, Uncle Danny gets ready 2 hours ahead of time, right? So he would go, that's the only sleep that Uncle John got. That's why he was 2 hours late for everything. So really, the next time Uncle John shows up late, you blame Uncle Danny. That's it. Now, so, besides being a cool and having your own standard time, because the rest of us don't have that, you know, and I do have a Wu-Tang Clan version that I'm going to say on the 23rd when we're having our dinner. I'm going to keep it clean for the family. That Uncle John is a dreamer, and there's nothing wrong with being a dreamer. And he kind of reiterated it yesterday, is boys dream all the time, right? 6, 7, 8 years old. Some want to be an astronaut, some want to be a president. I personally wanted to be a rickshaw driver that handed out chai, but it really hasn't formulated here.
I mean, that probably still happens.
It's a
right?
fairly
You know what?
attainable job.
I think you can do it.
Keep hope alive, all right? But Uncle John, at the age of 6, he wanted to play music. He wanted to do it. He wanted to play music, right? And he said this last night, you know, at Denny's, at 4 a.m. again, people. So, that he could do it. And not many people dream of something at that age, and it comes true. So, and I do apologize, I'm going to try to remember this line from heart. So it is from John Lennon. So, a dream is just a dream when it's dreamt by yourself. But a dream is a reality when it's shared. And here's a toast, Uncle John, for you sharing your dream of music with the rest of us. And I can't wait until the next 50 years and we're celebrating your birthday again. So here.
Hey.
And that's time for halftime.
Mistake to call Jonathan, I'll get out.
But timed very well.
Yes. No, good job. All right, so next up is Lucy.
Oh, all right. Hopefully they got a sister.
She's also crying.
I'm a crier. Let's admit it, we're all criers.
We're all criers. Okay. So this is hard. I'm kind of a bundle of nerves because I'm just full of emotions. And
Grab your beer.
This will be a hot mess if I grab a beer. In my mind, most people like have kind of like a highlight reel. There's just like certain moments that stick out and that just kind of define who that person is to me. And you know, John's my older brother, and when we were kids, the thing that I remember the most is that we fought like cats and dogs. And my kids always laugh when they say that I physically would fight Uncle John because they don't believe it. But you know what? I can handle myself completely.
For those who know, that's true too.
That's right. But you know, and I don't even know when that ended. We fought like cats and dogs, and at some point or another, you know, we became friends. And you know, I could talk to him about anything, and went to him for advice, and he was like my best friend. And you know, fast forward years later as an adult, you know, one moment, this is, you know, kind of a weird thing to mention, but I'm just going to bring it up. You know, in the Indian culture, you know, Indians' parents try to arrange their kids' marriages, right? And so my parents have been trying to set me up since I was, like, what was that, November '71, roughly around that time. We're like, who can we get married to? So we had taken this trip to India in 1995, and I was supposed to meet this guy to whom I was potentially, possibly going to be married. So John came on that trip, and we met this guy, and you know, he was, you know, the red flags were going off all, you know, just all over the place. I saw them, John saw them, my parents, not at all. Rose-colored glasses, red flags, completely invisible. My parents, we walked into a room, and they were all ready to just pull the trigger and say, yes, this is the guy. And I was kind of speechless and didn't really know what to say. I was really literally stunned, paralyzed, and speechless. I couldn't believe that they didn't see what me and John had seen. You know, this guy he just didn't seem like somebody that I would be with. And I just didn't know what to even say to them. And, you know, John kind of pulled my parents aside and said, no, this is not happening. So you do whatever you have to do. I don't remember exactly what he said. You do whatever you have to do, but this isn't happening. And, you know, up until that point, really, and from a lot of our time together, John has always, despite being my older brother, has always treated me like an equal. He's never really, like, talked down to me or anything like that. He's only 2 years older than me, but still. He's always treated me like an equal. But that moment, I was so grateful to have him there as my older brother, but as, like just a soldier to just kind of, like, man that front, and he took care of me. And I would not, nothing about my life would be the same right now if he wasn't there. You know, fast forward a few years later, I'm happily married to my husband.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Put that on video. Good.
But another, you know, moment in this, it was a brief thing, but it was when I first met Prasanna, when John first met Prasanna, one thing that he noticed was Prasanna, my husband Prasanna, Prasanna was helping my mom out of the car. And for John, that was all that he needed to see to have a gut instinct that Prasanna was a good guy, because that mattered to John. That was important to him, how well Prasanna took care of my parents. And he saw that and he wasn't wrong. Fast forward a couple years later, sorry, I had my son Jacob, who was the Men in Black guy. I don't know what that was about. We are so blessed. I'm blessed personally to have an amazing group of siblings. I love my brothers and sisters more than, and that includes Annie and Stella, more than anything in the world. And but despite that, I knew in my heart that I wanted John to be the godfather for my son. And we asked him probably, I don't even know, 30 minutes maybe after Jacob was born, John, will you be my godfather? And, you know, I know there's other godfathers in the room, but I got to tell you that I don't know anyone who's done it the way that he's done it. He is true. He's been an amazing godfather to Jacob. He's been an amazing second father. And anybody who knows, you know, us, Prasanna's job, he's traveled a lot. He's been away. He was a resident, you know, and he's done a lot of different things where he couldn't always be there as much as he wanted to be there. But, you know, John was that person. He was Jacob's godfather, but he was a second dad to Jacob. And not just Jacob, but to Emma and Matthew too. And the other moment that I will never forget is, you know, we were traveling somewhere. Prasanna was in New York doing a year of residency there. And we were traveling back from vacation, and we were supposed to be like, traveling back to Chicago, and I purposely scheduled a flight late for Prasanna so that we could have 3 hours together as a family, me, Prasanna, and Jacob. And our flight was delayed, so instead of spending 3 quality hours together in Chicago, we had stressful, just, you know, miserable time at the airport. And as soon as we, you know, got to Chicago, Prasanna said, I have to go, my flight is, I gotta take off. So Prasanna pretty much just took off, and I remember Jacob was 3, and he didn't kind of realize what was happening, and he just kind of like stood there, and he just sort of like pounded his leg, and he just started crying, and it just broke my heart because it wasn't the setup that I wanted. I knew that he was doing what he needed to do for work, but I picked Jacob up. I had bags in my hands. I picked him up, and I just went down the escalator, and John was going to be outside, or I thought, waiting for us to pick us up at the airport. But instead of being like outside, he was like at the bottom of the escalator. And I'll never forget it because it's symbolic of the fact that he has always been there for me and for Prasanna and for Jacob and for Emma and Matthew. And Emma has said that to me. Like, we talked about it, and she was like, you know, Uncle John is like another dad. I mean, Pius and Dan are that too. I'm blessed. But specifically, when we were talking about today, she was talking about how Uncle John has always been like a second dad. You know, so I'm like the cooler version of Prasanna, and like John is the cooler version of me.
You're all cool.
We're all cool.
Everybody's cool.
So I don't want to, you know, last thing I want to say, and I don't want to, you know, bring it down any further. But I think I just have to say this because I think the most defining moment for me, and just talks about who John is you know, when he, you know, moved back home and, you know, stayed at home for years to take care of Mom when she was sick. and then take care of Daddy until we figured out a long-term solution. I mean, that is something, John, that I will forever be grateful for, and it speaks to who you are as a person. I mean, when John is on your side, you know that you have someone who will back you up, who will pick you up, who will carry you to the finish line. So that's all that's all I want to say, John. I mean this sincerely. Like, I don't know what I'm so glad to have spent most of the last 50 years with you. I look forward to spending the rest, whatever amount of time that is. The next 50, let's be positive.
Yeah.
The next 50 with you. I love you very much.
Thank you. Help together.
Okay, that's a tough act to follow. I'm going to go next.
All together.
I think I'm a worse crier than Sarah and Lucy. All right, so John and I are 20 months apart. So of our 6 siblings, we're the closest in age, actually. So, you heard, I think Jonathan said we shared a room. We are in consecutive grades. We shared a room. So, we spent a lot of time together. I didn't have my own room until the sophomore college. I mean, I think Evelyn has her room. So, and there's a lot of wonderful things about having a younger brother so close. But there are some downsides too. When we were very young, being the older brother immediately before John, and then Lucy was a couple years younger than John. So, a typical day, would be me getting up first, then getting things ready, getting John up, getting him dressed, making breakfast for him, and getting him to school. Now mind you, he's 5, I'm 6.
Oh, that's so good.
It's not like, he's 5 and I'm 15. So,
2 hours on
and when you're in elementary school, that's fine. We're your first grade, second grade, But, junior, senior year, we're 17, 18, still getting John up, getting him ready, making breakfast for him, driving him to school.
I mean, we would breakfast is cereal. Like, don't make
occasional pancake would come on.
Let's rein it in.
Wheaties and milk.
Come on. Hey, it's breakfast of the champions. It used to be, and now, that's another story. Yeah. So then, then I went off to college, and now John was the one who was in charge because he had to take care of Lucy, and so the stories that I heard was that first week was a little rough. They were late every day to school. John inherited my car, which I inherited from Pius, which I inherited from
Jonathan's dad.
Jonathan's dad.
Yeah.
That was their
It's
first.
a 75 Buick Century.
Yeah.
Big old boat.
Big old boat.
Yeah.
So the first week they're late every day. John loses my car keys, which was. I had the gold-plated D on a leather strap. You can't even get those anymore. Lost that. I had that for 3.5 years or 4 years or something. Come home for break, like, hey, where's the keys? I'm gonna go out with my friend. Oh, I lost the keys. But that was sort of the nature of our relationship, John and I. But going back to when we were kids, so yeah, I was always taking care of John. John, of course, is a great musician. But when we started out taking piano lessons, I was actually a much better piano player. Now, granted, that may have been because I was a little bit older and just a little bit better at things. But I was better at piano than John. This is like 3rd grade. He's in 2nd grade, I'm in 3rd grade. So we started off, I'm a better piano player. Significantly better. And then we get to 4th grade. fourth grade.
Practice then your piano skills.
We get to fourth grade. You know, that gap is starting to narrow a little bit, but I'm still better. I'm still a book ahead.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Then we get to fifth grade, and he's on my tail. He's on my heels. All right. And then, you know, all of a sudden the teacher announced, you know, John, I think you're ready to go up to the, you know, to the book, you know, 2 books ahead.
Pius's book.
Which is Pius's book. You know, so, you know, of course, then I decided that was a good time to quit the piano. There was no way I was going to let my kid brother be better than me. So I could say, you know, I gave it up. You know, I could have kept going, but, you know, I can't be good at everything. So, you know, John obviously, you know, took up guitar and you know, he kept playing and playing, getting better and better. So, you know, the funny thing is that sort of rivalry, that jealousy, you know, turned into admiration, turned into pride. You know, seeing John play, I always loved to see John play. So, you know, whenever John would play, you know, it would be, you know, God knows where, some bar or some place, some guitar competition, you know, I would be there, you know. I mean, this was years ago, before I became a, you know, family man, you know, husband, father, you know, minivan driving, suburban sad. But I would be there. I would be there, and I would be so proud, you know. I mean, to see John on stage, it would be magical. You know, he played, you know, Taste of Chicago and all these different, you know, places, and people would, you know, sort of be amazed, like, God, who's that Indian kid up there? You know, don't see a lot of Indian rockers, right? So, you know, Lucy picked up on a couple other things about, you know, John, how he is, you know, how he took care of Mom, took care of Dad, you know. He's obviously a great musician, and, you know, Pius had a line that I won't steal from him. I'll let him say it in his speech. I think he knows what line I'm talking about. Or I'll whisper to you when he comes.
I know what line you're talking about.
Or maybe I will steal it. No, I'll let you say it. But, you know, John's a great musician, but he's a great person, right? We're here because he's a great person. You know, kind, considerate, loving, you know, and, you know, a great brother. You know, a great brother. And so what Stella and what I always told Joshua and Kevin was, you know, I mean, we have great friends here. Like, Tommy and I have been friends for literally 45 years. That's a long, there's, you know, half the people in the room, more than half the people are probably under 45 years. So, I mean, 45, and Viju for years, and even Mohan, and just, you know, on and on. But what we told, you know, Joshua and Kevin is, you know, you can have a best friend, but nobody will ever be closer than your brother. You can never be closer than your brother. So, John, we're so proud of you. You know, happy 50th. Love you. I don't know if I would say those words tomorrow. All right, and last up, Pius.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll keep it short. This has been awesome. I mean, it's tough act to follow with everyone else. And, you know, it was funny. It was touching. I mean, John, it's you know, and I'm probably the biggest crier out of all of them. So that's why I'm gonna keep it short, because you know it all starts. I guess I don't know where it started, but it rolled down through me, through everybody else with the emotions, I guess. We've been connected with music for a long time.
Since the beginning.
Yeah, since the beginning. And you know, it's interesting because you know we're not all that much apart in age. I'm 7 years older than John, but even that, I wasn't that old when I first started sensing that John's different. Like it's musically that he's got something. Because my older sister Jacinta said it. He would bang away on pots and pans. but it wasn't like little kids banging away on pots and pans. It was different. There was you could tell there's more there than your normal kid just making noise. And I saw that by the time I was maybe 11 years old, and you were 4. And so we knew something was up. There was something different about you, and we knew that. We saw that, and yeah, I knew it as not. I don't consider 11 very old, but I saw it by the time I was 11 or 12. And it's like I'll point back to it what Aka said. Those are like kind of like survival times, right? We didn't. It's not like there was a lot of excess back then. We did what we could with what we had. We lived in that small apartment on Paulina, and Wicker Park was not Wicker Park back then. Wicker Park was kind of the ghetto. So it was trendy, it was a rough neighborhood before it was a trendy neighborhood. And we lived there, but you banged away on pots and pans. And by the time we moved to Des Plaines the next year, I think within a couple years, I think you were making guitars. I remember out of cigar box with rubber bands, and that was his next thing. So pots and pans, went to a cigar box with rubber bands, and then but the musical interest was always there, and I don't know if all of us saw it. I definitely saw it, and that's why I think we had our first chance. We saw a music store that was going out of business. I think it was like right after I got my license. I was 16 or 17.
It was an ad in the Trading Times. Remember the Trading Times?
Yeah.
So it was classified ads.
Yeah, and it was they were going out of business.
$25 electric guitar.
Yeah.
The Global, right?
Yeah, Global. I still have it hanging in my wall.
Yeah, and we went. We were two kids. Went to the store. I don't know how, we didn't have Google back then. I don't know how we found the store. But we did. It was somewhere. I think it was like Hoffman Estates or something.
So I me and my crazy memory. Well, it was June 1980, and it was after Sia got married. And the only reason I remember, because we went to the bank first, you got your savings account, your book.
Yeah.
And I just remember you took out the $25, and I just saw the date, and it was like June 20 something, right? And then we're driving, and it was on Bodie Road in Schaumburg.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, it was called Gemini 2 Electronics.
Now it's getting scary, yeah.
Who's giving this speech?
That's great.
So then,
this is like a walk down memory lane.
What was your phone number? That was so easy to remember. Yes.
No, but we were driving in Sia's Chevette,
yes.
the Chevette, right? And then and Mark was with us. So the Motley Crue guy, my nephew, he was only 4. I was 10, and you were like 8, 17, something like that. And 3 of us went, and we're driving, and so this to this day is crystallized in my memory. So Bob Seger Against the Wind was on their charts, and it was playing on the radio.
Actually, I remember that too.
Yeah, I remember it was playing on the radio, and then Dan was his last year playing Little League, right? And Tom, you'll remember this, they put you in, you pitched, and you're 12, but your arm was like, I had to constantly be rubbing Ben Gay in your arm.
Me too. He just won't. Hey, Johnny, and on his neck, because he kept watching the balls go this way. Oh, sorry.
I became a roast.
So the thing is, it's funny how things get crystallized, like that Bob's, Against the Wind, and the smell of Ben Gay. And no, seriously. And then
it wasn't the vanishing scent in those days.
and then having the house, because the air was on. It was summer. It was really hot that summer. So having it cool inside, the smell of Ben Gay, and then that song. And I still had the guitar hanging. So yeah, that's my first guitar. That's what started it.
Yeah,
So.
it was just walking down, memory lane and kind of thinking about all that. But all that to say, I'm not going to repeat what everybody else has said. What you are, John, in terms of, taking care of the people around you, taking care of your siblings, taking care of, all of us. You're always there for all of us. We've always appreciated that. But I think the line that Dan was talking about that we kind of, this is just something that we've come up with or talked about is, you know, what I thought is that, you know, out of all the people that I know, and I know, you know, I know lots of people that are very successful in their fields and very, you know, they fit all the roles of, you know, whatever, they scored on, you know, their tests really high or this or whatever, all of that. I truly, John, I don't know anyone more singularly talented than you. Out of, you know, this is all of my, you know, business friends and doctor friends and people that, to the external world, that they would say, oh, this person has it made out of all those people. And I think Dan and Lucy agreed definitely when we were talking about that. You are singularly talented. And that's all fine and dandy. I mean, you know, that people get that. Sometimes they work to it. I think you work to it. Sometimes you just get it. Sometimes there are the Michael Jordans of the world that are just born, right? So, well, I'm not saying that because that's what you should be proud of. I think Dan and I talked about that because it is something that we want you to know that we understand, that you sets you apart. But what I think truly sets you apart is the character of who you are and how, you know, what all your nieces and nephews think of you, what your parents think of you, and you know what your siblings think of you. I think that doesn't have anything to do with your guitar talent. That just says what you are as a person. And yeah, well, it's been cool. You know, I was around when you were born, and it's pretty amazing to be here to, you know, to witness you know, you turning 50. Pretty big milestone. You know, just to put it into context, you know, I think back to when like Dad was 50. You know, right? And I always thought of him as old, right? And now we're here, we're past it. You know, it's in my long in my rearview mirror. It's not even. No. But you know, this is where we are. But it's, you know, I can say it's been fun to watch you. You know, like Dan said, all these years. It's very humbling and, you know, pride filling at the same time for, you know, for us to be brothers and to be able to see you on stage and do what you do.
Thanks, Vice. Thanks.
I gotta bring the DVD. We can do Matthew's song and do the cake.
Okay.
Yeah, we can come back to. We were just gonna show John playing. This is back in, you know, just a couple of videos and stuff like back from like, if you want to watch, you know, stuff from like 15, 20 years ago.
Oh my God.
You look almost the same. A little less great. But I think Matthew's got a you know, song on the piano.
Should we go over there?
Yeah, we'll just head over there and we'll cut the
Okay.
cake.
Okay.
Let's go.
Never know.
Oh yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you.
Where the hat?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the hat on there. You don't want me to put the hat on, do you? Alright.
Come on, man. Alright,
Whenever you're ready.
well, why don't you let everyone come over? Yeah.
Rolling?
Oh, wait.
Just like that.
It's kind of like intermission.
Kevin.
You can leave it there. Yeah, leave it there.
I know, right?
What are you even talking about?
What are you complaining about? Just stop it.
For this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh wait, actually, wait.
You guys ready?
Okay, are we ready?
All right, Matthew.
Yeah. I'm good.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Uncle John. Happy birthday to you.
Good job, Thank you. That was awesome. Thanks. How long did you work on that?
I just started yesterday.
Just yesterday?
He
Wow.
looked up a video and just learned it yesterday.
Like on YouTube, you saw some guy? Nice. That's how I learned songs too. Wow. Awesome job, buddy.
All right, let's hear for the man of the hour. Come on.
John? You know, everybody knows I'm not. I play. I don't talk. But no, this is you know. Very, it's just cool, like having everyone come together. When Lucy, texted me, hey, are you free for lunch on the 15th? And I'm like, yes, I'm free. But then Prasanna texted, John, it's for your birthday, just so you know. PT, always. So, I feel like, and I was thinking about this all day, like, okay, I'm gonna say something, and then I feel like, you can't go through this day without mentioning Mom, because my birthday always meant, after the age of 21, like, I just, like, it's yeah, it's my birthday. Some years, like, yeah, cool. Other years, I'm just like, it's just another day. But every year, Mom insisted, like, we had to do something, like, have the family come over, she's gonna cook. It meant more to her than really it did to me. So, just because then I'm like, okay, let's do it. But then what started happening, the kids started, coming around, and to me, that was actually more fun than anything. Like, you get a kid, doesn't matter whose birthday it is. There's a cake and candles. It's like, it's a big thing. So I started enjoying that. But, Jonathan was asking me all year what he was more excited about me turning 59 was. I was just like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And, I'm just like, all right, we'll just do what we usually do. Just have family and cut a cake and it'll be fine. But then Lucy's like, well, where you want to call some people over and whatever. And I thought, I kind of always wanted to do this, but we just never did. But I thought, it would be cool to have, the people that are important to me in the same room, and through various just different ways, like have either done or said something that have been, just very important or influential. It could be just like one conversation, but things that just, me and my memory. I mean, I remember everything, and it's like, I thought it would be cool to have those folks in the same room, and and that's kind of, I didn't expect the tributes. It's, it's very, very nice. Seriously, it's nice to hear that. I didn't expect that. Yeah, this was anything I could have asked for 50th. So like, later on, I thought it would be cool. My musician buddies here, Brad and Brian came. Jake's not here, unfortunately, so he was gonna kind of do this with us. But I thought it'd be cool, do a little jam session, because not everyone in the room can get to a gig, right? Especially like Daddy. He can't. He's not gonna come to a bar. So I thought we're gonna, we'll do some stuff that gives you a chance. Like Jonathan, like that quote, I thought, I never heard that before, and I thought it was great that, here's my way, of sharing, like, this is what I do, this is a part of my life that, not everyone gets to see, and it's just a way to say thanks, and thanks for coming, and, love you guys. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Cut the cake. Cut the cake.
Oh,
All right, so explain again.
Is that Spider-Man
How
cake?
did you do this?
Yeah, what's the significance of that cake?
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know.
For those of you who don't know.
So ideally,
Oh, that's
I would
Van
have
Halen.
liked to have had like an actual guitar. Wouldn't that have been great?
Yeah.
But I just thought of this like a couple days ago, so they couldn't do it. But this is the Eddie Van Halen guitar, and instead of the VH with the wings, you know, the album that everyone had back in the '80s, it's JP. And then Emma did the lettering, Happy 50th birthday to John.
Henry.
So.
And that was high school, you just sitting in the garage, jamming that Eddie Van Halen album.
Yeah, it was
Eruption.
Yeah. I mean, it was, you know, Tom actually brings up a good, you know, it kind of to tie in, like, the connections. It's like, you know, Pius and Dan, my older brothers. Tom, we always called our you know, our fourth brother, right? And, our weekend brother. Because every weekend he'd be over.
I think it was more than weekends. It's really I think
Don't sass me, little sister.
But they would, Tom would come over, and then, you know, we would go to the Leisure Center to play basketball, and they would drag me out of my room because I just wanted to play guitar. I didn't want to play basketball, you know. I didn't care about basketball, but they needed a fourth, 2-on-2.
John, your 3-point skills.
Well, that's the other thing. I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna do this, I want to see if I can make it from half court. You know, like I didn't care about like trying to get a shot down. I'm not going out for the team. But Dan and Pius would get so mad. They would be like, "You're shooting out of your range. You're shooting out of your range."
You're like, what's a range?
I don't have a range. I just want to see if I can make it.
Shooter's a shooter. Shooter's a shooter.
There was no 3-point line.
Yeah.
There was no 3-point line back then.
Yeah. But that was, you know, those were very important, formative like influences. Even, you know, I didn't pursue, you know, basketball or whatever, but it was, you know, those guys, you know, coming around and including me with their stuff. It was very important. So yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, should we have?
Where?
I know Uncle John always wants the.
Yeah.
Henry, come help blow the candles. Henry.
Oh yeah. Wait, make way. Watch out.
Here we go.
Watch your night, buddy.
Hi, now take a picture.
I think so.
Gracie, go blow out the candles.
All right. So we're gonna do this one. Ready?
Oh, it's a cute little.
Uncle John, blow out the candle. Where's Matthew?
Get in there,
Matthew,
All right. Here. All right.
All right.
This is awesome.
Ready?
Where did Evelyn go?
Where's Evelyn?
Matthew,
Matthew, come on.
where's Matthew?
Hurry up.
Uncle John, you want me to sit on your lap?
Why is everybody laughing? I don't think you ever sat on my lap. Even as a baby.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sure.
Come here. Kevin.
All right.
Come here. Come help out, Kevin. Come on.
What, you want to start the opening note?
Where's Sarah? Happy birthday to you. It's his job. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to you.
All right.
You're welcome. I'm going to cut up some cake, and there's other dessert over there, and I'll put it all over there.
Is that on my book? He's coming after work. Yeah.
Putting it here. I think so. I think I should move over there.
There was, I think there's a video here. I think it's Jacob.